problem of evil
Yes.
and the fact that it does come across scientifically, statistically, that there is no rhyme or rhythm. Things just happen. Physics happens. So if there is a God, I think maybe it's the kind of God that just sets things in motion and turns his back. Maybe, I don't know.
Black Dunya, yeah? All right, so there's two things that the problem of evil. We can discuss the problem of evil, inshallah. But let's first start with God. You said you're leaning either way, yeah? So it's 50-50. So I'm just going to try a kind of logical experiment with you. If we strip everything and we go back to basics, yeah? Ali, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, don't worry.
You know what? I was happy with one camera, but I'm not happy with the whole setup. Do you mind, man? Do you mind? Not your camera, just that one camera. The first one, just the first one. Yeah, please. Thank you. Cheers, guys. That's all right, man.
He's just going to record me then. He's just going to record me.
Whose is that one? Yeah, do you mind? You can record him, yeah? But just that one camera. Just the one
What
camera.
if they record you and blur your face?
You know what? Just the one camera is enough because that will go up on one channel and it's not going to be on every
It's
single
up to you,
channel.
it's up to
I'm
you.
happy to be on one for it to be on one channel.
Okay, sorry. So, don't worry. I don't go into long.
No, you can ask me anything you
No,
want.
no. I mean, sometimes in discussion, some people give long answers. I'm gonna try keep it back and forth, so we can. It'll be engaging for both of us, inshallah.
I think in the long run, if we're going to get anywhere, we'd have to have long form conversations.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get anywhere with sound bites. You know,
All right.
it's a big issue. It's
Brilliant.
a massive issue.
Brilliant.
Right? It's a huge issue.
Excellent. Okay, so because I know some people, they're like, but with you, I know where you are now. Okay, so number one, if we were to strip everything and be the ultimate skeptic, yeah, and say I disagree in everything, yeah, I can't trust my own senses, I can't trust anything is telling me, anyone that's telling me something is correct, I don't believe in anything. Would you accept that the most fundamental thing that we can agree on is existence?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down
I think
to.
therefore I am. Yeah?
Well, Nietzsche even had a problem with that. He said the fact that you're saying I, you're presupposing an I, and you're presupposing. I mean, my philosophy teacher was saying the mere fact that you're thinking. Which language are you thinking in?
Yeah, but look,
so you're presupposing.
I see where you're going
Yeah,
with this, and what I would say is
You're okay with that?
is I think when it comes to whether we exist or not, and
You have no issue with that.
I think that you have to apply a certain level of pragmatism to the
Excellent.
situation, because philosophy has its limits. We have to be happy to experience our direct situation and just feel that experience rather than relying on how we should feel.
Excellent.
Based on what philosophers say.
I agree with you. So the first premise is there is existence, which you agree with, yeah? Okay. Second thing, do you accept that the laws of nature are uniform, regular, and stable? What I mean by that is the mere fact that I can hold this microphone up and the fact that it won't explode, or that you won't randomly start flying away, or when you were crossing the road, cars didn't randomly
You make
start.
your point, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So if there's existence and we have laws of nature that are uniform, regular, and stable, it then follows that there is an existence to explain the uniformity, regularity, and stability. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think philosophically, existence is. Yeah, and it's a good question to ask, why is there existence? I agree with you, that's a good question. So I think I'm happy to, agree with that. That's not controversial. What's controversial?
Controversial, at the moment, I gave you two non-controversial statements. It's like Aristotle's syllogisms, yeah? So I gave you existence, then I talked about the laws of nature, and then I said, it therefore is, it's therefore necessary for there to be an existence that can explain these stabilities in nature. So there needs to be an existence, yeah?
Yeah, there needs, we live in a universe of cause and effect. You're saying, yeah? You're gonna go.
Not necessarily. I was gonna go contingency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Contingency meaning that you have the universe which is contingent upon something. You might say necessary, but either way, the infinite regress has to stop somewhere.
Yeah, so
There has to be a prime mover.
Regress. Okay, you're going back to the prime mover. Fine. You know, philosophically, we can argue that there has to be a prime mover. How do you go from that? So this is a philosophical argument that you won't find in the Quran or in the Hadith. You won't find it laid out like that. How do you go from that, which is, let's say, the result of human philosophy, to Islam? How do you draw that line?
Right. So just because I don't understand the point that you were saying that the argument that I made is not in the Quran. What was the
As in the Quran, there's no surah or ayah in the Quran that says you exist. There's a constant nature to existence.
Yeah, that's because this
Existence
is
is built on cause and effect or contingency.
yeah.
And therefore there must be an all-existent. The Quran doesn't lay it out like that, does it?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't need to lay it out like that.
But you needed to right now, right?
Not necessarily.
Or you chose to.
That was one
a good approach, maybe.
It's one that I feel not a lot of people have troubles disagreeing with.
Yeah, it's straightforward, but
Sorry, they don't have troubles agreeing with.
yeah, it's a rational. You're going down a rational path, right? And you're coming to a rational conclusion based on your limited perception of your existence.
Yeah, it depends who I'm speaking to. Some people they're okay with the cause and effect thing. If I'm speaking to somebody that's
Look, whatever it is what it is. There's a subjective reality out there.
So then you do believe in an existence,
I think
a necessary existence.
we can argue that there's a necessary existence. I mean, we can argue that the.
No, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, no. I think I'm open to the possibility that okay, there's a necessary existence. All right, how do you then draw the line from there to Islam?
Right. So again, you're giving me a bit of 50. You're saying we can. Are you saying that you're okay? Rationally, it makes sense.
Philosophically, rationally, I'm okay.
It makes
with
sense.
this. Yeah, it
Okay,
makes
brilliant.
sense.
Okay, then if we now direct this towards the contingency argument, which is that I mean, the infinite regress, and then the first being needs to have some sort of criteria.
Wajib al-wujud, yeah. So,
No, what? Okay.
Yeah.
How are you translating that?
or like the
Necessary existence.
necessary existence.
Okay. So the necessary existence needs to be one because obviously it's a superlative. Cannot beget, nor is he begotten.
Yeah. That has no beginning, has no end. You know, it does not have
Yeah,
body.
and there's
does not
nothing
have no
like him,
surface,
yes.
no line, no point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm aware of this Aristotelian perspective of.
Well, ironically,
of
it's even
Tawheed.
in the
Right?
Quran as well. Yeah, Surah
But
Ikhlas.
the Quranic Tawheed is, in my opinion, a more primitive Tawheed. The Quranic description of Allah, you can still see the clear fingerprints of the idol sort of worship mentality.
What gives you that impression from
Well,
the
as
Quran?
in, for example, the Islamic concept of Allah is a God that has a physical arsh, right? So, from an Aristotelian perspective, you wouldn't associate God with a chair, for example, or a seating position, something like that.
How is that idol worship though?
Well, no, it's not idol worship in of itself, but to give God a chair, philosophically, from a Tawheed perspective, it's troublesome. It's troublesome.
You're linking philosophy. Oh, sorry. I don't think the brother wants to be. All right. She just gave it and walked off. All right. So you're linking philosophy with Tawheed. Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to steel man you. Are you saying that? Actually, you know what? Just summarize that. I don't want to straw man you. The Tawheed and philosophy.
I mean, what you want to label it is fine, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to get an idea across.
Of course, sure.
That the Quran, it has its time and place in history. There's a context for the Quran. The stories that the Quran brings together, it basically gathers much of the cultures of the time. It brings like the most sort of, let's say, core or important bits of everyone and brings them together under one banner. And it's a child of its time and place. Any aspect of Islam can be understood contextually. There's no miracle there. The miracle is the myth. There's nothing miraculous in the Quran, and there's nothing miraculous in the Hadith. And so,
Okay,
it's just a culture.
what
that
about
we've-
the
that we've-
prophecies that the Prophet ﷺ made that are simply just undeniable,
such as
the tall buildings? Yeah, if I'm going to unpack this because just me.
It's a bit weird.
Okay, because you've responded. So
And
tall
tall
me.
buildings
All right, tell
we've
me
had
what-
tall buildings for a long
All right.
time.
Okay, so
There's tall buildings before the Prophet's time.
right.
The pyramids are pretty tall.
Right. Okay, so I was going to tell you this prophecy. It seems like you already know it. So just explain to me what the Prophet said about tall buildings.
I don't know. But you're saying he said there's going to be tall buildings.
No,
right?
I said that the tall building prophecy, and I was going to unpack that for you. And then you said, "Oh, there's tall buildings." That's not what I was going to say at all.
Is that the best argument you've got?
No, you haven't let me make the argument yet. I said the prophecy of tall buildings, and you just shut that down and
Well,
said,
we're talking about the miraculous nature of the Quran.
"Right, I haven't told you what the prophecy is at the
This is
moment."
this is the very core of Islam.
I understand.
The core, let's say, point that Islam makes.
Yeah.
The core claim is that the Quran is the word of God.
Oh yes.
And all right, fine. You're saying there's an ayah in the Quran that says there's going to be tall buildings.
Didn't say that at all.
What
No.
was it then?
I was going to tell you the prophecy, but you took the title of the prophecy, how I wanted to kind of label it to you, and you've extrapolated that into my whole argument. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, made a prophecy that there will come a time where the barefooted, the unclothed, unclothed herdsmen will compete with each other to make tall buildings. Now, if you look at that time, in fact, you compare it with other prophecies, they are very vague. They're not specific. Now, if you look at this prophecy, it's extremely specific. In fact, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, was asked from this is
What's
Musnad,
the
this
exact
is
wording of the prophecy? Do you know it?
I've just told
Arabic
you.
Wording.
No,
Because-
you can see that yourself.
Because
Yeah, let me finish the
just-
prophecy.
just-
Let me finish it.
the idea that you've
Look,
got a
look,
prophecy.
look, look.
What is this in the hadith?
Look, this is.
What is
Let
this?
me finish the prophecy because you keep interrupting
I'm
me and you
expecting
keep.
something really good.
Well,
and I'm just disappointed. I'm sorry.
Well, it's
All right, go
it's
ahead.
easy to be disappointed when you judge something by the title. Then again, it's easy to be
We're
disappointed when
talking
you.
about the miraculous nature of the Quran.
Yeah.
And what you're telling
It's easy
me.
to
You're
be
giving me a
disappointed.
hadith about tall buildings and bare feet. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Well, if
But
you.
it's going on now, bro.
Yeah, but if you don't let me finish, then you're not really gonna know because
I'll
you're just
give you all the
judging it
time.
by the
I'll
middle.
give you all the time.
Okay, brilliant. So, the barefooted, unclothed herdsmen will compete with each other to make the tallest buildings. Now, at that time, the Arabs were decadent. Yeah, they were living in mud huts. In fact, they were surrounded on either side with glorious empires like the Persian Empire, the Roman Empire. It would have made more sense for
We
the
already had tall buildings, yeah?
it would have made more sense for the Prophet to attribute, or they will compete with each other to make tall buildings, or even amongst the Arabs.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
weak, man. I'm sorry.
But let me finish. You first you said I'll give you all the time, and now you stopped me in the middle again. If once I finished it, then you shoot it down, then it makes sense. Then I'm not gonna say, bro, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it would have that would have made more sense. Attribute it to certain empires. Secondly, attribute it to the Arabs of your own time. Yeah, you've got Bedouins. Yeah, and these Bedouins were so decadent. No one can perceive that these individuals will start. And the thing is, when the Prophet was asked, his response was Bedouins. Yeah, Bedouins. So he specified that it's this class of Arabs that this will happen for. Yeah. Now, even if you look at the Mufassirin, people that have interpreted, at that time, oil hadn't been found yet. Yeah. So these Mufassirin, like Ibn Hajar, Imam Nawawi, Qurtubi,
So you're
they're
saying
all
these are
they're
the
all
modern Khalijis, yeah? The
they're-
Prophet said that the Khalijis...
they're all unanimous that the Prophet, peace be upon him, referred to Bedouins. Yeah. So there's no kind of people.
I think
Wait.
that's,
Let me finish.
First of all, it's a claim. There's no evidence for it.
Let me finish.
This hadith is. What's the oldest manuscript that contains this hadith? Secondly, I mean, I think there's definitely some reaching going on. It sounds like you're really reaching with this hadith.
No, it's
Why,
like.
if we're talking about the miraculous nature of the Quran, and
Tell me how I'm reaching with this hadith.
because surely there's something that's actually miraculous in the Quran that you can point at clearly and say, look, Ali,
The
Quran is a
inimitability challenge, where the
miracle. The
Quran
Quran is a
says.
miracle because it says this and that, and this is impossible for any human mind to produce. I think absolutely it's possible for the human mind to produce.
Then why hasn't someone done it then?
There's,
Yeah.
First of all, I can write a letter.
Go on then, do
I
it.
can, wait a second. I can write a letter. You could never write one like it. Just because it's in my own style.
How do you know?
Right? Everyone writes in their own style.
Right. That doesn't mean it's inimitable style.
Especially a great poet. Great poets have a very refined, developed style.
Like, can still be mimicked.
But with great difficulty. Even an artist.
Yeah,
right?
but you've
Even an
admitted
artist,
with great difficulty it can be mimicked.
But the Quran has been mimicked. You just
By
have
who?
to go online, mate. There's many surah that are very
Who?
well made. Very well made. Just go online, Google it. I'll leave it to you.
I have Googled it and I didn't come across a single one.
The point is that just because, first of all, the Quran doesn't reflect the modern Arabic that we speak. It's a very specific Arabic from a very specific part. It's a dialect of Arabic, right? It contains Assyrian, it contains bits of Hebrew, largely Arabic, but it's a mixture of dialects. It was a local dialect at the time. That's why it was called non-Arabic by many of the Arabs, because there was words in that dialect that they didn't recognize, so they called it foreign. It has its time and place, right? And
Right.
So
because Arabic contains
the
other
Quranic
things,
Arabic
like,
is
so
a
what?
very specific Arabic. Nobody speaks Quranic Arabic. You don't speak Quranic Arabic.
Fusha, yeah.
I don't speak Quranic Arabic. It's a different.
Well, some people do speak.
It's a different thing.
No, people do speak Quranic Arabic. It's called Fusha.
Nobody speaks. No, I've never ever heard someone speak, and while they're speaking, it sounds like the Quran. It's a
But
very
just because
unique,
you haven't heard
it's
it
a very
doesn't.
unique language, and I don't believe anybody exists.
Right,
like
you don't believe, you haven't come across. That's not proof. That's not. You know what I'm saying?
But so the point is,
That's on your experience.
that the Quran is specific to that time and place, and their let's say reverence for poetry and eloquence and speaking well. It's a reflection of that society. So
Yeah, it would. Any holy book that comes down does need to reflect the society that it's revealed in. But we're going on 3 points. Let's come back to the first one. I didn't get to finish the prophecy. So the prophecy, then you said it's a bit of a reach. There's this. Look, I'm telling you, if you compare it with prophecies from Nostradamus, Joseph Smith, yeah, the I Ching, yeah, the Mayans, their prophecies. Number one, they have been falsified. Not a single prophecy of Prophet Muhammad has been falsified. That's the first.
Which prophecies did he make,
Did who make?
Muhammad?
Well, at the moment, I can't even get one across to you because each time I do it, I
So
keep
you're talking
getting
about
knocked
the tall
down.
buildings. Okay, fine.
Well,
tall
that's the
buildings.
title, yeah.
Okay.
That's the title. So, when you said that there's a reach, now I'm telling you, firstly, that the wordings of the prophecy are very specific, number one. Number two, the people that they're being referred to are agreed by the Prophet. He said that the people, the scholars have also agreed. Now, when
Let's face it, bro. What do the scholars know, man? Come on.
Okay, that's fine. So afterwards, then when the black gold was discovered, oil, then we see in 2012, the tallest building that we saw was the Meccan clock tower, yeah, which was around 600 meters, yeah. 2 years later, yeah, we saw the tallest building was in Dubai, yeah. Again, both of these are in Arab desert lands where Bedouins used to be. And then this was the Burj Khalifa at 800.
Maybe they were
Wait.
just,
At 800 meters. You can tell me the maybes afterwards.
Maybe
You can tell me the maybes afterwards.
Themselves, you know?
You can tell me the
There's
maybe.
people that build Noah's arks, and there's people that do.
That's actually a good point. But if you let me finish, then then it'll be worth it. I can answer all these, no problem. I'm not shying away from any of this.
I'm just
Then
saying, there's all kinds of people that
Yeah.
put all
And I'm
kinds of money
saying-
into profit. There's people
Yeah.
moving to the Middle East, to Israel.
I agree with you,
trying to
brother.
make a
Ali,
prophecy.
this is a good point. You're making a good point. I want to answer this point, but first let me get the prophecy out. Then I can answer these points. Yeah, because it's a good point. I agree with you. So then you've got the Burj Khalifa, which stands at 800 meters. Yeah. Now in Saudi, they're going to make one that's called the Kingdom Tower, which is going to be the highest, which stands at
What
100.
a waste of money.
Yeah, 1,000 meters. Yeah.
All
Now,
this money just to make the prophecy true, bro.
No,
It's
no, no,
terrible.
no, no, no.
All that taxpayers' money of Saudi people, right? That's their oil money, and it's going to get
But
wasted
you
on this.
accept
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Arabs are
Wait.
Come on, bro. I'm
You-
making a serious point. That's a serious point.
I've finished the prophecy now.
Is it
Yeah?
worth wasting taxpayers' money, Saudi taxpayers' money, to fulfill
Yeah.
this, to make this prophecy true?
Okay.
diverting me.
It's,
Wait.
I'm just trying to bring across to you how silly the
Ali,
point
Ali.
is. It's a really silly point, bro.
Ali, that's a good point you've made. Both are good points, yeah? But now that prophecy is finished, now I can address these points, yeah? But you have to remember the veracity of the prophecy, so we're not going around in circles again. I can deal with these issues, and that's why at the start, Ali, you said, look, we need to meet these things out. Otherwise, I would have just given you an abridged version, yeah? Okay, so you made 2 points. Now, this is one of the things that people do say, that when someone makes a prophecy, then there needs to be, like for example, you had Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, yeah, that there were certain prophecies, and he encouraged his followers.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It does happen.
People do things to make prophecies come true all the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the Quran actually discourages people from making tall buildings. There's not a single hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in which he encouraged people to make tall buildings. In fact,
it's a
this
bit
is
abstract.
something.
Why would the prophet refer to something that he probably wasn't even aware of, like skyscrapers? I mean, when you say tall buildings,
It's almost as if
when
God
you-
is telling him.
No. But when you say tall buildings, I mean, as far as they're concerned, any building more than 2 stories high is a tall building. I mean, it's very abstract. It's not. You're saying there's veracity. It doesn't have veracity.
I'll tell you why.
It's abstract wording. Tall buildings, people with no shoes. I mean, the Arabs wore shoes, by the way. They weren't going around.
No.
shoeless in the
He
sand.
didn't, in the first hadith, he didn't mention the actual name of the people, the
Bro, we're
Bedouins.
talking about I mean, you got to have something better than that. Come on, bro.
No.
You gotta
I'll
have
tell you.
something better in the bag.
I'll tell you what it is. I'm going to be honest. It takes a better mind to understand that something is better. From the get-go, brother, you had a certain mindset. I just barely got the title out of my mouth. You were there shooting it down. I was in the middle of the prophecy. You were in the, I was in the middle of the prophecy. No, it wasn't, because why would I be bringing something forward and you're assuming it's a waste of time?
Because
you can't.
Look.
You've asked me for
just a second. I want to make this point, right?
So it wouldn't be helpful if I start
we're talking
interrupting you
we're
now,
talking
isn't
about the very
it? So if I
core of
keep
Islam.
interrupting you now, do you see it's going to get annoying, isn't it?
You're right. I do, and I apologize.
Yeah,
if
that's
how
the
it
point
is.
I was trying to make.
Fair enough, and I apologize. Right? But what we're talking about, brother, is the very core of Islam, the very core of every Muslim's faith, right? That we anguish over, that we struggle to maintain in our daily lives, right? That we spend a lot of time trying to learn about and that consumes a lot of our existence and our cognitive surplus, right? We put into our religion and trying to ponder the universe, right? And so
There needs to be something more voracious.
when I'm having a conversation with you, having been through what I've been through,
Yes.
right? I'm just angry in a way, right?
Okay.
That okay, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I've let's say made it out of the cultural dead end, which is what Islam is, as far as I'm concerned.
As far as you're concerned, yeah.
But it still angers me that when I'm talking to a Muslim, this is the best that we can come up with. But I mean,
Let me
this
remind
is
you.
serious stuff, bro. It's
Let
serious
me
stuff.
remind you of the conversation we were having. Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, religion is such a core part of our daily lives. It's so hard to
All right.
maintain, right? We
I
work
understand
so
what
hard
you're
for
saying.
it.
So,
For how hard?
so in order,
you're asking
yeah,
people
yeah,
to
yeah,
work
yeah,
for
yeah.
religion.
I understand that.
We'd expect something
Yeah,
better.
yeah, we're getting that. You made your point. Okay, so my first claim was that there are prophecies of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he has made. Again, I used the word prophecies plural. I didn't say prophecy, that you base the entire veracity of the religion over one prophecy. Yeah, that was the first thing. Now, because so many things were thrown in the pot, and then we were talking about, okay, the immutability challenge of the
Give me your
Quran.
best one. I'll let you talk for as long as you want. Give
Okay.
me your best one.
Look, the thing, Ali, is there's no best one.
Give me a
Yeah.
good one.
Well, this was a good one, but it wasn't good for you.
Was it good for you?
Of course, it was good for me. I'll tell you why. Because there's a book called Forbidden Prophecies by Abu Zakaria. It's a free book. You can even read it online as well, and I would recommend you looking at it. And what that book says is it goes through the prophecies that other people have made. For example, you had Nostradamus. Yeah, we're living in the West. Nostradamus is heavily promoted. You're aware of Nostradamus?
Rings a bell, not really.
Okay, so he made the prophecy that 2012 will be the last year, that everything will be destroyed in 2012. That's why you had certain movies that came in 2012 talking about the apocalypse. Then you've got the Mayans, yeah? Their prophecies are put forward. You've got Joseph Smith.
Bro, do you mind dimming the light down? Yeah.
Yeah. Then you've got Joseph Smith. You've got other people from other beliefs making certain prophecies. Yeah. Now the thing is, I may give a prophecy that may be veracious for me. Yeah. That I've looked into that I think is solid, but it may not be solid for you. And that's why my argument is not the Prophet made a prophecy. Yeah. My argument is this: if you take the body of prophecies of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him,
Can you give me a summary, a tour de force, right, of a couple of things that you would say, to tell someone that isn't familiar with the Quran, to explain to them why the Quran is miraculous in nature and the Word of God.
Okay, so the first claim that I would make is, if you look at preservation, yeah, how do you even know that this is the Quran or that's the Bible? When you look at other books, the way they've been preserved is through written transmission, yeah, and written transmission, we know in those days they get copied. If they get copied, then errors get introduced into it.
The Quran is very well preserved.
Yes.
Yeah, from some of the earliest manuscripts, there is some variation, right, with the qira'at, with some minor variations. But on the whole, I agree with you. As a text, as a body of text, it's
So that would be my first
very
claim.
well preserved.
So that would be my
But,
first claim.
We don't really have anything from the first century of Islam. It wasn't put down into text for a long time after the Prophet, as far as we know. We don't have it.
Not
we
a
don't
long
have
time after the Prophet, no.
It was what was it, a good 70 years, something until it was codified and written in one book.
Not necessarily. The Quran was actually written down at the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
That's the assumption. There's no evidence for that.
There is evidence from that.
There isn't.
Yeah.
We don't have manuscripts that go back to the Prophet's life.
Okay, in that sense.
Yeah.
Do you see, like, your definition of evidence will be different to mine? Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Sorry, I've lost my trail of thought.
Okay, then I'll carry on, and then once you remember, just let me know.
Yeah, sorry, you said that. I was
That was quick.
just going to agree with. Sorry, I was just going to agree with you that the Quran as a text, as a
It's
body
preserved.
of text, it's well preserved.
And then I was
But
going to
it-
follow on. Let me just follow on from
I was
that.
just going to preempt you and say, but that isn't in of itself a miraculous thing.
Okay. I would disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. Miraculous.
There's all the texts that are as well preserved.
Okay, there's no religion claims to have texts, yeah, that number one are well preserved. Number two, that have a that have a kind of acceptance.
Most of them do, just like Islam.
No, you didn't let
And
me
they're
finish.
all wrong, just like Islam.
Yeah, brother, look, they're not claiming to have number one, a large amount of adherence. Number two, spanning over a long period of time, and number three, being and having that veracity. They don't all make these claims. Islam does. Yeah. In fact, 1400 years we have manuscripts that you've said, okay, they trace back to the time of Uthman. Well, you didn't say that, but the time. I'm telling you that they have been compiled at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Then, sorry, they were written down. They were written down.
That's what the hadith
Right.
says, right?
They were written down.
When was the earliest hadith book written? You're aware of how? Well, the earliest hadith book
The earliest hadith book
after
that was
the-
written.
Yeah, what year? What
Yeah, they
year
were written at the
literally?
time of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
No, that's not true.
Yeah,
That's
Abu
not true.
Bakr radiallahu anh had his own hadith book.
There's no hadith book. What's the?
What do you mean there's no hadith book?
When was
Abu Bakr?
when was Bukhari written?
No. You're saying when was the earliest book? The
What's the earliest book that we have available to us now? Hadith book.
I don't know which ones of them are the earliest.
The earliest one, as far as I'm aware, I can't remember specifically which one, but it's about 200 years or 200 Hijri, or just after 200 years. 200 Hijri.
Okay.
A long
right.
time, right?
Right.
Between the events, the claimed events, and the record of those events.
Yeah.
Right. So, look, I'm not saying Muhammad didn't exist. Yeah,
Okay. You made a
hadith.
point. Let's not just jump away from that. Yeah. So you're saying that hadith, because it is somewhat a good point. It's a point that we even use for the Gospels. Yeah.
The same applies for the hadith.
Okay.
There was a process. There was
Ali,
a
Ali.
political context.
I'm going to tell you why it doesn't. Yeah. Because I'm sure you're familiar with this as well. We have something called hadith preservation. Yeah. Where we have chains of narration in which
That's the claim, but it's not a scientific claim.
hadith preservation is a science.
It's an internal Islamic claim, right? That's what Islam. Or
That
Muslim scholars.
doesn't mean it's wrong.
The Muslim scholars, they claim it to themselves, but they can't claim it scientifically. You can't put out a scientific.
How would you prove that
You
scientifically?
can't put out a scientific paper, right? The standards are higher, too good for that kind of scholarship, where you can say, because we've got the science of hadith, we know that this hadith is sahih and this hadith is wrong, and we can definitively say
In
that.
fact, I would disagree with that.
You can't say
I
make
would
any
disagree.
definitive statements.
No, there's many journals,
And
scientific
there's-
journals that come out that they have, number one, biased funding, number two, the research that there hasn't been a control group,
course, yeah, of
and
course.
it's no,
Anything is corruptible, including hadith.
but you keep contradicting yourself. On the one hand, you're saying it's not scientific, you're using that as a benchmark. But on the other hand, when I've told you that there are scientific journals and papers that come out, and they're false. They're false.
But we use science to understand that corruption exists. So science is
Right.
still winning.
Right, so we can use the parameters of science to even, and we do use the parameters of science even amongst hadith preservation
We
as
have
well.
to. Yeah, that's the only way.
Yeah,
to do it.
and science doesn't negate hadith preservation. Your argument is, it's within the Muslims, within Islam.
Okay, fine. These stories, the hadiths, right? We as far as we're aware, this is what the Muslim sources say is that I think the Bukhari and the other Sahihs, they were written at earliest about 200 years.
That's a good pronunciation of Sahih, by the way.
I speak Arabic.
Yeah,
right?
it's nice the way you say it.
I speak Arabic. So the first Sahihs that we're aware of.
Oh, you
were
said it
written-
again for me, yeah?
I was trying to finish the idea.
Whatever.
Were written 200 years. I'm trying to say it without saying it. 200 years after the
I'm in your head now.
after the Hijri calendar, or 200 Hijri. So that's a long time. It's a big gap, and there's weird and wonderful stories. Just more stories about the moon splitting, and it documents the split between the Muslims after the Prophet died. The Prophet died. Before you know it, half is. Sorry, mate. Do you mind dimming the light, please? Dim it right down, please. Sorry.
All right.
As soon as the Prophet died, half his mates went on this side, the other half went on that side. Half his wives went on this side.
the
half his wives
beauty,
went on the
beauty
other.
of that word sahih that you said. It actually triggered something in my head that actually answers one of your questions,
I
which
was
is
just
what's the early hadith books that we have? The early hadith books. One hadith collection we have is of Imam Abu Hanifa. Yeah, it's in a book called Kitabul Athar. Yeah, there's other books as well, and I can
many
tell you
hadith books,
no, but I can tell you standing here right now. Yeah, the hadith and its chain and everybody, Ali, that's in that chain as well. Yeah, I can tell you Imam Abu Hanifa.
Yeah, there's
no.
and okay, that's not evidence, right? Just because it's written doesn't make it true. Right?
I'll tell you when. Wait.
Look, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, I don't have a problem with the idea that hadith books exist, right? I don't have a problem with the idea
You
that
have a
that the
problem
Quran
with
exists.
the way it's
What I have
presented.
a problem with is the claims within them, right? So
Right.
let's put aside how I think there was some kind of natural, organic way that these things evolved and were written for some reason at one point or another. You know, that's not.
Are you going,
important.
yeah?
We're going. No, we're waiting for you. And we wait. How long?
How long?
Up to you, mate. Up to you. So I'm not too.
How long till you become Muslim again?
You can joke about it, but it's a serious issue.
Yeah, it was a serious,
It's a serious
question. How long is it going to take?
Brother, have you watched this
How long,
channel?
look,
How long would it take?
I can't tell you how long it would take, right? It can happen in a moment if I'm presented with the right evidence,
All right, brilliant.
So it's not a question of how long.
Good
It's just-
answer.
Well,
It's a good balance answer. No,
that's
you're honest.
the
Some
truth.
people would say never.
Well, why not?
Professor Atkins, he was debating with John Lennox. He says no evidence
Well,
is enough for me.
Most human beings don't change their mind in real time. And most human beings, they change their mind
Gradually.
over time, gradually with pressure, basically. So just like I didn't leave Islam overnight, it was a process. Right? I wouldn't go back into it overnight. Chances are, right? Overnight, unless I'm presented with
But he
something
dies in
right.
Allah's
Look,
hands.
even in the Islamic stories, right? The prophets proved themselves with miracles, right? So even at their time, the people, their standards were, I'm not going to believe you until you show me a miracle, right? And that's when they believed them, after
Yeah.
the miracle. So why is it not rational for me to 1,400 years after the story to say, actually, I want to see the miracle too, right? I don't even have the prophet here. At least they had the prophets with them,
Yeah.
right? So I can understand why they might be beholden, but I mean, even in Islamic stories, Abraham was Abraham or Moses.
You're making a lot of good points, but then you keep moving away from them.
Well, there's no answer. That's the problem.
That's because you don't let me answer it.
No.
You
You're
move on
going
to
to
the
give me
next
some
one.
piecemeal answer, a bit of mental gymnastics, but in reality, these problems, they're not going to go away.
But Ali, look, at least let me answer it.
Go ahead.
And the thing is, look, if you think it's an appeasement answer, you're not happy with it, no problem. Move on to the next one then.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense. But if you're already, prejudging and saying he's going to give me this answer, then
No, you can give me
But Ali,
if you think you've got a good answer.
But Ali, the thing is, if you've already judged that in your head, then this conversation is futile. Then, isn't it?
I'll be open to the evidence. I'm here
Yeah.
to hear you out.
No, the thing is, look, each time you make a claim, let me answer it, isn't it? Otherwise, if you've already made up in your head, you're going to give me some appeasement answer.
I've not made up my mind.
It's going to be this.
I've not made up my mind.
Yeah.
If you're going to
just
give me something
Yeah,
good,
I mean, you
then
just said it, isn't it? You said, look, you're just going to give me some appeasement answer. It's going to be like this.
Well,
But,
I mean, it better be good now. I've set you up, so you better pull it out of the bag.
No, but the thing is, it depends on you as well, isn't it? Sometimes you might have a certain standard in your head. For example, your standard was science. I knocked down science, then you changed your stance on science. You said, no, but
I didn't change my stance.
you did. For example, you were like, look, we need to measure ourselves by science and like,
No, I was saying, look, science doesn't have it all.
the veracity of the journal articles that come up. And I told you there's certain studies that have been done that have given false things because they didn't have a control group, because they were backed by certain interests.
Let's go
and they've
back to
had
the fundamentals.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Quran.
You said-
being the written word of God. Yes.
Wait, the last thing that you said.
And that's the Quranic claim. What's the evidence? One
Okay,
more time.
so the Quran itself, number one, before you even start talking about a scripture, when you look at the main scriptures that we have at this moment in time, none of the main scriptures of the main religions, first of all, the Abrahamic faiths, no one claims to have the book that has been preserved from the time, that hasn't been changed or open to
All right,
manipulation.
just because you claim it is true, right? That it's preserved,
Right.
It's preservation.
That's the
It's
beginning.
preservation.
That's the
It's
that's the
not in of
beginning.
itself evidence that this is the word.
I
of God.
didn't say Ali it is. I'm
why say-
building
why
up.
bring it up?
I'm saying in order to even start this conversation, we need to first say that the book has been preserved. If I'm here defending
I agree that it's preserved. I agreed with you. already.
no, but what I'm saying, Ali, is that if somebody stands here telling you, you need to believe in Jesus, you need to believe this, but they can't prove the veracity of the Bible, I mean, this conversation is futile.
No, what you're
Yeah?
telling me is that the Quran is relevant because it's a preserved text. Yes?
I'm saying
And I
number
agree-
one.
I'm saying I
even,
agree with you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree
saying
with-
the premise has to be that the Quran has, or the book that a person is defending has to be preserved.
The Quran is
All right,
preserved.
number one.
I agree with you.
The second
So,
argument.
so the Quran is therefore a relevant document, and the Quran claims that it's
Yeah,
the
that is
written word
relevant.
of God.
Yeah,
It's the written word of God. So we can now move on to the Quran and talk
Right.
about the Quran and what's inside it.
Okay, brilliant.
And whether it
But
proves
this,
that it's actually the
but
word
this
of God.
also makes the Quran stand out from other books that make similar claims, but the Quran is the only one that lives up to this claim. Number two, it was the inimitability challenge, that you claim that if you go on Google, you'll find people that have copied the Quran, but I didn't say copied the Quran. Yeah, that produce something like it. Yeah, in terms of the morphology, in terms of the depth, in terms of the relevance, in terms of the
It's a very
acceptance.
specific Arabic that the Quran is written in. I'll be honest with you, it's hard to replicate because
Okay.
but so is
Okay, so that's fine.
If I told you to to write a book, write a story like Beowulf, which is
Yeah.
written in Old German,
Yeah.
right? Is there someone that can write something eloquently and beautifully the way Beowulf is written?
I'm sure they can.
Very difficult because to
Yeah,
speak
very
to
difficult
speak
doesn't
at
mean
that
they
level-
can't though. Do you see?
Yeah, so again, the Quran is replicable to an extent.
I'm saying it's impossible. You cannot. No,